My name is Dorothy. I'm 88 years old and I've lived in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania my entire life. I was born in a farmhouse 2 miles from where I'm sitting right now, married Thomas Hoffman when I was 25 and raised 4 children on this dairy farm while he worked himself half to death to keep it running. I've seen droughts, floods, the death of 3 siblings, 2 miscarriages, and my husband's slow disappearance into Alzheimer's over the past 4 years. I thought I knew what heartbreak felt like. I was wrong. 3 days ago, I buried Thomas in the cemetery behind Grace Lutheran Church. The service was beautiful. Pastor Ryan said all the right things. Our children stood beside me. Jeffrey, Monica, Brandon and Amber, 63 years of marriage, gone. I held myself together through the hymns, through the prayers, through the receiving line where half the county shook my hand and told me what a good man Thomas was. I didn't cry, not once. I've never been the crying type. After the funeral, everyone came back to the farmhouse. There was food everywhere, casseroles from the church ladies, pies from neighbours, cold cuts from the market. The dining room table was covered. People milled around, talking in low voices, drinking coffee. And in the middle of it all, Jeffrey started talking about the estate. "Mum," he said, pulling me aside near the kitchen, "I know this isn't the best time, but the lawyer needs us to meet next week. Dad's will is pretty straightforward, but we need to get everything filed." I nodded. Thomas had been meticulous. He'd updated everything 2 years ago before the Alzheimer's got too bad. The farm would go to Jeffrey, who'd been running it for the past decade anyway. Monica would get the life insurance to help with her husband Craig's medical bills, stage 4 colon cancer, treatments draining them dry. Brandon would receive the savings bonds Thomas had been buying since the 1970s. And Amber would get the guest cottage she'd been living in for 8 years, plus 17 acres of oak forest on the east side of the property. "Fair, equal, thought out. We'll meet whenever you need us to," I told Jeffrey. That's when the woman approached me. I was standing by the coffee pot, refilling my cup, when she appeared at my elbow. I recognised her vaguely, Patricia maybe, or Margaret, someone who'd worked in Thomas's office back in the 80s when he did bookkeeping for local businesses. Grey hair, thin face, eyes that looked nervous. "Dorothy," she said quietly, glancing around like she didn't want anyone to hear. "I'm so sorry for your loss." "Thank you," I said automatically. She hesitated, then leaned closer. "I need to tell you something. Before you divide anything with the estate, before the lawyer finalises it, you need to look under Amber's bed. There's something she's hiding." I blinked at her. "Excuse me, just look," she whispered. "Trust me. You need to see it before it's too late." And then she walked away, disappearing into the crowd of mourners before I could even respond. I stood there holding my coffee, bewildered. I actually laughed, a short, sharp sound that surprised me. Grief does strange things to people, makes them say odd things. I dismissed it, went back to playing hostess, accepting condolences, making sure everyone had enough to eat. But that night, alone in the house for the first time since Thomas died, the words came back to me. "Look under Amber's bed." I tried to sleep. I lay in the bed Thomas and I had shared for 63 years, staring at the empty space beside me, listening to the house creak and settle. At 2:15 in the morning, I gave up. I put on my robe and slippers, grabbed a flashlight and walked out into the cold November night. The guest cottage sat about 100 yards from the main house, near the edge of the oak woods. Amber had moved in 8 years ago after her accounting business went under and she couldn't afford her apartment anymore. Just temporary, she'd said, but temporary became permanent. She paid no rent, helped around the farm sometimes, but mostly kept to herself. Quiet, distant. I'd always worried about her, but I'd told myself she just needed time to find her footing. The cottage was dark. Amber had mentioned she was staying with a friend in Harrisburg for a few days, needed space to process Dad's death, she'd said. I used the spare key we kept under the flower pot and let myself in. The place was neat, almost sterile. Amber had never been one for decorating. a couch, a small TV, a kitchen table with one chair. I walked into the bedroom, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the bed. Then I knelt down, my knees protesting, my back aching, and reached underneath. My hand found fabric. I pulled out a black duffel bag, heavier than I expected. I set it on the bed and unzipped it. Cash, stacks and stacks of it, bound with rubber bands, $100 bills, 50s. I pulled out one stack and counted with shaking hands, $5,000. I counted another, 5,000. There were at least 7 bundles. Underneath the cash, a passport. I opened it. Amber's face stared back at me, unsmiling. Issue date, September 2024, 4 months ago. I hadn't even known she'd applied for one. Underneath the passport, printed pages, real estate listings, all in Costa Rica. One was circled in red ink, a beachfront condo in a place called Jacó, price $185,000. In the margin, in Amber's handwriting, cash offer, close by April. And underneath that, a handwritten note on yellow legal paper. After the will clears, list the cottage and the oak parcels immediately. Realtor already contacted. Aaron estimates $240K minimum for the land. Cottage another $85K. Wire transfer set up through Margaret at the bank. Gone by March 15th. I read it 3 times. Then I sat down hard on the floor, my legs giving out, the bag spilling open beside me. Cash scattered across the hardwood. The passport landed face up. Amber's eyes staring at nothing. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I just sat there in the dark, in my daughter's bedroom, surrounded by evidence of a betrayal so complete I couldn't process it. She was going to take her inheritance, land her father had fought to keep for 50 years, sell it the moment the will cleared and disappear to another country. Without a word, without a goodbye, just gone. The woman at the funeral, Margaret, I realise now, Margaret from the bank, she'd known, she'd tried to warn me. I don't know how long I sat there, long enough for my legs to go numb, long enough for the first light of dawn to start creeping through the window. Finally, I repacked everything exactly as I'd found it, slid the bag back under the bed, locked the cottage, walked back to the main house as the sky turned pink over the barn. Jeffrey's truck was already in the driveway. He was starting the morning milking, life going on, oblivious. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, stared at Thomas's empty chair, and I had no idea what to do. Amber came back on Thursday. I was making beef stew, Thomas's favourite, though he'd never eat it again, when I heard her car pull up. She came in through the mudroom, shaking rain off her jacket. "Hey, Mum," she said, casual as anything. "Smells good." I kept stirring, didn't turn around. "How was Harrisburg?" "Fine. Needed the space, you know. Everything's been so overwhelming, I'm sure." She grabbed a Coke from the fridge, leaned against the counter. Jeffrey called, said the lawyer wants to meet Monday to start finalising everything. "I know, good. I just want to get it over with. Dragging it out doesn't help anyone." I finally turned to look at her, my middle child, 42 years old, thin face, tired eyes, hair she'd dyed blonde but was growing out dark at the roots. When had I stopped really seeing her? "Amber," I said quietly. "Sit down." She frowned. "Why? What's wrong? Please, sit." Something in my voice made her obey. She pulled out a chair, set down her Coke, looked at me warily. I turned off the stove, sat across from her at the table where Thomas and I had shared every important conversation of our marriage, where we disciplined the kids, celebrated their achievements, mourned our losses. "Someone told me something at the funeral," I said. "I didn't believe it, but I went to your cottage. I looked under your bed." The blood drained from her face. "I found the bag," I continued, my voice steady. "The cash, the passport, the real estate listings, the note about selling the land." Silence, heavy and terrible. "Were you going to tell me?" I asked. or were you just going to disappear? Her jaw clenched. You had no right to go through my things. You have no right to sell your father's land and abandon your family. It's my land. She stood abruptly, the chair scraping loud against the floor. Once the will clears, it's legally mine. I can do whatever I want with it. Legally, yes, I said. But don't, she cut me off, her voice shaking. Don't you dare guilt-trip me, Mum. You got your life. You and Dad got everything you wanted. The farm, the family, the respect. What did I get? You got a home, a family who loves you. I got to be the failure, her voice rose, cracking. Jeffrey's the golden boy who took over the farm. Monica's the tragic saint taking care of her dying husband. Brandon's the baby who gets forgiven for everything. And me, I'm the 42-year-old spinster living in her parents' guest cottage because she couldn't make it on her own. Do you know what that feels like? I stood slowly. So your answer is to steal from your family and run away. I'm not stealing. It's my inheritance. Your father put that land in your name because he trusted you. My voice was louder than I intended. He trusted you to honour what it meant, what he built, and you're going to sell it to strangers and vanish to Costa Rica like we never existed. Amber's face twisted. For a second, I saw something there, guilt, shame, maybe even regret, but then it hardened into something cold. I don't owe you anything, she said quietly. She grabbed her jacket and walked out. The door slammed behind her. I stood alone in the kitchen, the stew burning on the stove, and I felt older than I'd ever felt in my life. I didn't tell Jeffrey or Monica or Brandon. I knew I should. They deserved to know what Amber was planning. But something stopped me. Pride maybe, or some stubborn hope that I could still fix this, that there was still a way to reach her. I prayed about it, not in church. I'd stopped going to services after Thomas got too sick to attend, and I couldn't bear the pitying looks. But alone in the quiet moments, while I washed dishes, while I folded laundry, while I sat in Thomas's recliner and stared out at the barn he'd built with his own hands, I asked God for wisdom, for the right words, for something, anything that could heal this. The answer came slowly. I started going through Thomas's things, boxes in his office that I'd been avoiding, old farm records, tax documents, letters, and then I found his journal. Brown leather, cracked with age, I'd forgotten he kept one. I sat on the floor of his office and opened it, and his handwriting, cramped and practical, filled every page. January 1965, bank threatened foreclosure again. Don't know how we'll make spring planting. But I look at Jeffrey and Amber, just babies, and I can't give up. This land is their future. June 1973. Amber helped me mend the fence today. She's only 8, but she worked harder than most grown men. Smart girl. Hope she knows how proud I am. December 1989. Amber's business degree came in the mail. Top of her class. I don't say it enough, but she's going to do great things. Page after page, year after year, mentions of all the kids, but especially Amber. How bright she was, how hard she tried, how much he loved her. And then tucked between pages, dated 1998, I found a letter. Unsealed envelope, addressed to Amber in Thomas's handwriting. I pulled it out with shaking hands and read, "Dear Amber." I'm not good at saying things out loud, so I'm writing this instead. I probably won't ever give it to you. I'm a coward that way. But I need you to know I'm proud of you. I know the farm isn't your dream the way it is for Jeffrey, and that's okay. You don't have to want what I want. I just hope you find something that makes you happy. Whatever that is, wherever it takes you, I'll support you. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like you weren't enough. You've always been enough. Love, Dad. I held that letter and cried for the first time since Thomas died. Not because he was gone, because Amber never saw this, never knew, and suddenly I knew what I had to do. I called Margaret. It took some effort to find her number, but I managed. We met at a diner off Route 30 on Saturday morning. "Thank you for telling me," I said over coffee. "I know that wasn't easy." She looked uncomfortable. I work at the bank. I saw her accounts activity, large cash withdrawals, inquiries about international wire transfers. I thought you should know before it was too late. How much does she have saved? At least 40,000 that I saw, maybe more in other accounts. I nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? If someone wanted to transfer a large amount of money to another account as a gift, could that be done quickly? Margaret frowned. Yes, but Dorothy, what are you planning? Something I should have done years ago, I said. Sunday dinner. Amber usually came out of habit more than anything. I made pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, her favourite meal as a child. Set the table for two. She showed up 20 minutes late, looking wary. What's this? She asked. Dinner, I said simply. Sit. She sat. I served her plate, poured iced tea, then sat down across from her. I slid an envelope across the table. What is this? She asked. Open it. She did. Inside was the letter from Thomas. I watched her face as she read it, watched her hands start to shake, watched tears spill down her cheeks. He wrote this, she whispered. In 1998, he never gave it to you, but he meant every word. She set it down carefully, like it might break, wiped her eyes. There's more, I said, and I slid a second envelope across the table. Inside was a cashier's check made out to Amber for $75,000. She stared at it like it wasn't real. What? Why? Your father kept saving separate from the estate, I said. Money he'd set aside over the years, he left it to me, and I'm giving it to you. I don't understand. You want to start over, I said quietly. You want your own life. I get that. So here's my offer. Take this money. Use it however you want. Go to Costa Rica, if that's what you need. But don't sell the land. Sign it over to Jeffrey. Let it stay in the family, the way your father wanted. Do this the right way with our blessing, not in secret. Amber stared at the check, then at me. Her face crumpled. I don't deserve this, she choked out. Maybe not, I said gently, but I'm giving it to you anyway. Because you're my daughter, and because grace isn't about what we deserve. She broke down sobbing. I stood and held her the way I used to when she was small and afraid of thunderstorms. She clung to me like a child. I'm so sorry, she wept. I'm so sorry, Mum. I know, sweetheart, I know. We stood there in the kitchen for a long time, and for the first time in years, I felt like I'd done something right as a mother. Monday morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The meeting with the lawyer was at 10. I got dressed, made breakfast and waited for Amber to come by so we could drive together. 9 o'clock came and went, 9:30, 9:45. I walked out to the cottage. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open, empty. Closet open, hangers bare. Bathroom cleared out, bed stripped, not a trace of her left. On the kitchen table, a note. Mum, I cashed the cheque this morning. The bank opens at 6 a.m. if you know the right people. I'm sorry, I know you wanted me to do the right thing, but I can't. I can't stay here and watch everyone else live their lives while I fade into nothing. The land papers are in the drawer. I signed them over to Jeffrey like you asked. Consider that my thank you. I hope someday you'll understand. Amber, I stood there holding that note, and something inside me shattered in a way I didn't know was possible. She'd taken everything, the cheque I'd given her, the inheritance, and she was gone. I walked back to the house in a daze. Jeffrey was waiting in the driveway. Mum, you ready? We're going to be late. I looked at my son, honest, hard-working Jeffrey, the one who'd never left, the one who'd stayed. Amber's gone, I said. What do you mean gone? I handed him the note. His face went white as he read it. She took $75,000 from you and just left? I nodded numbly. Mum, he said, his voice shaking with anger, we have to stop her. We can call the police, we can... No, I said quietly. What? Let her go. Mum, she robbed you. I gave it to her, I said. It was a gift, a choice. She made hers. Jeffrey stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. But as I stood there in the cold morning light, watching my son struggle to understand, I realised something. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The meeting with the lawyer was worse than I expected. Jeffrey sat rigid beside me in the conference room, still furious. Monica arrived late, apologising. Craig had a bad night, she said. The chemo was hitting him hard. Brandon showed up in his work uniform from the auto shop, grease still under his fingernails. The lawyer, a kind man named Paul Anderson, who'd handled Thomas's affairs for 30 years, spread the documents across the table. Before we begin, he said gently, I need to confirm, is Amber joining us? The three of them looked at me. I'd called them that morning, told them the basics. Amber was gone. She'd signed over the land to Jeffrey, but taken money and left. I hadn't told them how much money. I hadn't told them about the cheque. No, I said, Amber won't be joining us. Paul nodded slowly. I see. Well, she did file transfer paperwork on Saturday. The 17 acres and the cottage are now legally deeded to Jeffrey. That's unusual to do before probate closes, but it's valid. She knew exactly what she was doing, Jeffrey muttered. Monica reached across and squeezed my hand. Mum, I'm so sorry. I can't believe she'd just leave like that. Brandon said nothing, just stared at the table. Paul walked us through the rest. The farm to Jeffrey, the life insurance $150,000 to Monica, the savings bonds worth about $60,000 to Brandon, everything else, the house, the remaining savings, Thomas's truck to me. It was straightforward, fair, exactly what Thomas had wanted, except one of his children had abandoned the family before his body was even cold in the ground. There's one more thing, Paul said, pulling out a sealed envelope. Thomas left individual letters for each of you to be opened after the will was read. He distributed them. Jeffrey, Monica, Brandon, Dorothy, and one more, labelled Amber. What do I do with this? I asked, holding Amber's letter. That's up to you, Paul said quietly. After the meeting, we stood in the parking lot. November wind cut through my coat. Monica hugged me tight. Are you okay, Mum? She whispered. I will be, I lied. Jeffrey was still fuming. She doesn't deserve that letter. She doesn't deserve anything from Dad. Jeffrey, no, Mum. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to pretend this is okay. She stole from you. She betrayed all of us, and you're just letting her get away with it. What do you want me to do? I asked tiredly. Chase her to Costa Rica. Drag her back. She's 42 years old. I can't force her to care about this family. You could at least be angry, he said. I am angry, I said, but I'm also tired, and I miss your father, and I don't have the energy to hate my own daughter right now. Jeffrey's face softened. He pulled me into a hug. I'm sorry, Mum. I hate seeing you hurt like this. I know, honey. Brandon finally spoke up. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I think Amber's been miserable for a long time. Maybe this is what she needs. Jeffrey shot him a look. Are you seriously defending her right now? I'm not defending what she did, Brandon said. I'm just saying maybe we didn't see how bad it was for her. Maybe we should have. Monica shook her head. Don't put this on us, Brandon. We all have problems. We all have struggles. That doesn't mean you abandon your family. They kept talking, debating, dissecting. I stopped listening. I just stood there in the cold, holding two envelopes, the letter Thomas wrote to me and the one he wrote to the daughter who was gone. That night, I sat alone in the living room and opened Thomas's letter to me. My dearest Dorothy, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I had to leave you. I'm sorry for the hard years at the end when I couldn't remember your name or where I was. I'm sorry you had to carry so much alone. You were the best partner a man could ask for. You made this farm a home. You made our children good people. You loved me even when I was difficult, and God knows I was difficult. I'm worried about Amber. I know she's been struggling, and I don't think I helped the way I should have. I was always so focused on the farm, on keeping everything afloat, that I didn't see what she needed. If she's lost when you read this, please don't give up on her. She's more fragile than she lets on. I love you. I'll be waiting for you. Yours always, Thomas. I folded the letter carefully, tears streaming down my face. Then I picked up Amber's envelope, turned it over in my hands. I could open it, read what Thomas wanted to say to her. But what good would it do? She was gone. I set it on the mantel, unopened. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I got angry. I spent the next 3 days calling everyone I could think of, Amber's old friends, her former co-workers, anyone who might know where she'd gone or how to reach her. No one knew anything, or if they did, they weren't telling me. Finally, I called Margaret at the bank. Dorothy, she said, sounding cautious, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. I need to know if you've seen any more account activity, I said. Any wire transfers, anything. There was a long pause. Dorothy, I can't give you that information. Privacy laws. Margaret, please. I'm not trying to take the money back. I just need to know she's okay. Another pause. Then quietly, there was a wire transfer on Tuesday. $70,000 to a bank in Costa Rica. The account is in her name only. My stomach dropped. So she's really gone. I'm afraid so. I thanked her and hung up. 70,000. She'd kept 5,000 for travel expenses and sent the rest ahead. She'd planned this down to the last detail. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the phone. I could call the police, report the money as stolen. No, I couldn't. I'd given it to her freely. Could call the Costa Rican consulate. Could hire a private investigator. Could make this into a war. But what would Thomas want? I looked at his empty chair and I knew. Thanksgiving came. We gathered at the farmhouse. Geoffrey and his wife Heather and their 3 kids. Monica and Craig, who looked frailer than ever. Brandon and his girlfriend Christina. The table was full, the food plentiful, but there was an empty chair. No one mentioned it, but everyone saw it. After dinner, Geoffrey pulled me aside in the kitchen. Mum, I've been thinking about the cottage. With Amber gone, you shouldn't be alone in the big house. You should sell it, move into the cottage. It's smaller, easier to manage. I'm not ready to leave this house, I said. You're 88, he said gently, and you're alone. What if something happens? What if you fall or... Geoffrey, I buried your father 2 weeks ago. I'm not making any more big decisions right now. He backed off, but I could see the worry in his eyes. That night, after everyone left, I sat in the living room and looked at Amber's letter on the mantel, still unopened, and I made a decision. I bought a plane ticket to Costa Rica. It took some doing. I'd never flown internationally, hadn't even been on a plane in 15 years, but I went to the library, used their computers with help from a patient librarian named Kayla, and figured it out. I booked a flight to San Jose for the first week of December, found a hotel near Jacor, rented a car, though I wasn't sure I'd be brave enough to drive in a foreign country. I didn't tell the kids. They'd try to stop me, tell me I was too old, too fragile, being foolish. Maybe they'd be right, but I had to try. The night before my flight, I finally opened Thomas's letter to Amber. Dear Amber, I'm writing this because I'm afraid I'll run out of time to say it in person. The Alzheimer's is getting worse and I don't know how much longer I'll be myself. I know I wasn't the father you needed. I know I put the farm first too many times. I know I didn't see you the way you deserved to be seen. And I'm sorry. You were always the smartest of our kids, the most creative, the one who could have done anything. I'm sorry if I made you feel like the farm was the only thing that mattered. It wasn't. You mattered. You still matter. Whatever you choose to do with your life, I hope you know I'm proud of you. I hope you find happiness. I hope you forgive me for not being better. I love you, sweetheart. Always. Dad, I sat there crying, holding that letter, understanding for the first time the depth of what Amber had lost. Not just a father, but the chance to hear him say these things. To know she was loved, to be released from whatever burden she'd been carrying all these years. I packed the letter in my suitcase. The flight was long and exhausting. I slept poorly in the cramped seat, my joints aching, my heart racing every time we hit turbulence. But I made it, landed in San Jose, navigated customs with shaking hands, found my rental car. The drive to Jaco took 3 hours on winding mountain roads. I white-knuckled the steering wheel the entire way, terrified of the aggressive drivers and unfamiliar traffic patterns. But I made it. The town was beautiful, beach stretching for miles, palm trees, colourful buildings, warm air that felt like mercy after Pennsylvania's November cold. I checked into my hotel, showered, changed, and then I pulled out the real estate listing Amber had circled. The condo building was right on the beach. I drove there, parked, walked inside. The lobby was modern, clean. A young woman at the desk smiled at me. "Hola, can I help you? I'm looking for someone," I said. An American woman, early 40s, blonde hair. She might have bought a condo here recently. The woman's smile faltered. "I'm sorry, I cannot give out resident information." "Please," I said. "I'm her mother. I've come a very long way." She hesitated, then quietly, "Unit 412. But I did not tell you this." I took the elevator to the 4th floor, walked down the open-air hallway, ocean breeze in my face, found Unit 412, knocked, no answer. I knocked again, waited, the door opened. Amber stood there in shorts and a tank top, barefoot, a drink in her hand. Her face went white. "Mum?" "Hello, Amber," I said. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then she stepped aside. "You'd better come in." The condo was beautiful, open floor plan, modern furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, the kind of place I'd only seen in magazines. Amber set down her drink, some kind of fruity cocktail, and crossed her arms. "How did you find me?" "Wasn't hard," I said. "You left the listing in your cottage." She laughed bitterly. "Of course I did." I looked at her, really looked. She'd already gotten a tan. Her hair was lighter from the sun. She looked relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in years, and utterly miserable underneath it all. "Why are you here, Mum?" she asked quietly. I reached into my purse and pulled out Thomas's letter, held it out to her. "This is from your father. He wrote it before he died, before the Alzheimer's took too much. He wanted you to have it." She stared at the envelope like it was a snake. "I don't want it. Amber, I don't want it." Her voice broke. "I don't want his apologies or his regrets or whatever guilt trip he put in there. It's too late. He's dead. It doesn't matter anymore." "It matters to me," I said. She turned away, facing the windows. The ocean stretched out endlessly beyond. "You should go home, Mum. There's nothing for you here." "You're here," I said simply. "I don't want to be found. I don't want to be saved. I just want to be left alone." "I know," I said, "and I'll leave. But first I need to say something." She didn't respond, just stood there rigid. "I'm angry at you," I said. "I'm angry that you lied, that you stole, that you left without saying goodbye, that you took my money I gave you out of love and used it to run away. I'm angry that your father spent his whole life building something for this family and you threw it away without a second thought." Her shoulders shook. "But I'm also sorry," I continued, my voice softening. "I'm sorry that we didn't see how much you were hurting. I'm sorry your father and I were so focused on keeping the farm alive that we didn't see you fading away right in front of us. I'm sorry you felt like you had to disappear to finally breathe." She turned around. Tears streamed down her face. "I don't know how to fix this," I said. "I don't know if it can be fixed, but I came here to tell you that I love you, that your father loved you, and that you'll always have a home with us if you ever want it." I set the letter on the counter and turned to leave. "Mum, wait," Amber said, her voice cracking. I stopped. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything. I know, sweetheart. I didn't know how else to leave. I didn't know how to tell you that I couldn't breathe there anymore. that every day felt like I was suffocating, that watching everyone else have their lives while I just existed was killing me. "So you're happy here?" I asked. She looked around the beautiful condo, the ocean view, the life she'd bought with my money and her father's land. "No," she admitted, "I'm not." We talked for 3 hours. She told me everything, how she'd felt invisible for years, how Jeffrey's success on the farm made her feel like a failure, how Monica's tragedy made her own problems seem trivial, how Brandon could mess up and still be loved, but she had to be perfect and still felt unseen, how she'd started planning her escape 2 years ago when Thomas's Alzheimer's got bad and she realised life was short and hers was slipping away. I listened, I didn't defend, didn't argue, just listened, and then I gave her the letter. She read it sitting on her couch and she sobbed like a child. Great gasping sobs that shook her whole body. I held her the way I used to when she was small. "He knew," she kept saying, "he knew and he still loved me." "Of course he did," I said. "You're his daughter." When she finally calmed down, she looked at me with red swollen eyes. "What do I do now, Mum? I can't go back. Everyone hates me." "They don't hate you," I said. "They're hurt, but they don't hate you. I stole from you. You took money I freely gave," I corrected. "You lied about what you'd do with it, and that was wrong. But I chose to give it to you. I knew the risk. Why would you do that?" "Because grace isn't about what we deserve," I said. "It's about what we need. And you needed to know you were loved enough to be trusted, even if you broke that trust." She started crying again. "I don't know what comes next," I said gently. "Maybe you stay here. Maybe you come home. Maybe something in between. But whatever you choose, I need you to choose it because it's what you really want, not because you're running away from something." "I don't know what I want," she admitted. "Then take some time to figure it out," I said. "And when you do, call me. I'll be here." I flew home 2 days later. Amber drove me to the airport. We hugged for a long time at the departure gate. "I'll call," she promised. "I'll be waiting," I said. I didn't know if she would, but I had to hope. Christmas came. The farmhouse was full again. Jeffrey's family, Monica and Craig, Brandon and Christina. We set the table, said grace, passed around dishes of turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes. There was still an empty chair, but halfway through dinner, my phone rang. The kids all looked up. I never got calls during dinner. I answered it. "Hello, Mum," Amber's voice crackling over the international connection. "I just wanted to say Merry Christmas and I love you." "I love you too, sweetheart," I said, tears in my eyes. "I'm coming home," she said quietly. "Not permanently, not yet, but I'm coming for a visit in February, if that's okay." "It's more than okay," I said. Jeffrey was watching me, so was Monica, so was Brandon. I smiled at them through my tears. "She's coming home," I mouthed. Monica started crying. Brandon grinned. Jeffrey just shook his head, but he was smiling too. "I'm 88 years old. I've lived through more pain than I care to remember. I've lost people I loved. I've made mistakes. I've been disappointed. I've been betrayed. But I've also learnt this. Grace is a choice we make every day. To see people not just for what they've done, but for who they could become. To love, not because it's deserved, but because it's needed." Amber came home in February. She stayed for 2 weeks. We talked, we cried, we started to heal. She went back to Costa Rica, but she calls now every Sunday. Sometimes we talk for 5 minutes, sometimes for an hour. Last month she told me she was thinking about selling the condo. Said maybe Costa Rica wasn't the answer she'd been looking for. I told her to take her time, to be sure, because running towards something is very different from running away. And I hope she's finally learning the difference. I still have hard days, days when I miss Thomas so much I can barely breathe. Days when I'm angry all over again at what Amber did. Days when I wonder if I was foolish to forgive her so easily. But then I remember Thomas's letter, the one he wrote to me. Please don't give up on her. I won't, Thomas, I promise, because that's what love does. It doesn't give up. It doesn't walk away. It stays, it forgives, it hopes, even when hope seems foolish. Especially then, I sit at the kitchen table now, in the chair where I've sat for 63 years, looking at Thomas's empty seat across from me. The farm stretches out beyond the window, fields and barns and the oak woods where Amber used to play as a child. This land has seen so much struggle, so much loss, so much life, and it's not done yet. None of us are. My name is Dorothy. I'm 88 years old. I've buried my husband, been betrayed by my daughter, and travelled to another country to offer forgiveness when I could have chosen bitterness, and I'd do it all again because that's what mothers do. We love, we forgive, we hope, always.